Thanks so much for joining us here on Faith Nation.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's good to see you again.
Hey, let me ask you real quick. Obviously, some of this breaking news today, the president now saying transgenders will not be able to serve in the U.S. military. He's reversing that June 2016 directive from President Obama. What's kind of the initial take on that?
Well, we're just now seeing this, but this is a debate that we had on the floor similar to this just about a week or so ago. Vicky Hartzler had an amendment on the floor to stop paying for the surgery for transgenders. One, it takes people out of the military or ability to serve for a year or so as they go through this, the amount of cost, wanting to make sure that the money was going to the military itself, to the equipment and others R&D that we needed to have the military for. We knew General Mattis was studying this issue, something that Barack Obama put into place, and it looks like President Trump has come out after talking to his generals and others, seeing that maybe it's not the best for the military currently as what Obama proposed.
Probably going to get some flack on this, you know. Oh, what a shock, right?
I don't think the president worries about getting flack on any of his decisions.
All right. Let me ask you health care real quick. Look,
yes.
The Senate, you guys did your job in the House, but the Senate, boy, I tell you what, looks like it might be some sort of, I'm going to say it, dare I say it, a watered-down repeal bill coming out of the Senate. Are you just hopeful this thing gets to a conference committee and you take it from there? What's the sense?
They've got to do something. They've got to keep the promise. And, you know, when you really look at it and you take politics away, think about what Obamacare has done. It gave greater control of government over business and health care. You know, the 50 employees, 30-hour work week. It created 23 co-ops, gave them more than $2 billion. Do you realize 19 of those co-ops have collapsed? Our premiums have gone up. Now 40% of all the counties in America today only have one provider. There's so many challenges out there. So regardless of how you feel politically, Obamacare has collapsed, and it is failing the American public. So we've got to make a change here, repeal it and replace it, just as Republicans pledged they would do and make that promise. And I think the American people knew that going into the election, and they expect it to happen. The House has done their work. The Senate now needs to do their work.
And Majority Leader, if Republicans don't pass anything on health care, is the party worried about losing its majority in the House?
I'm worried about it because you've got to keep your promise. And what's most important here, think about it. You want to lower the premiums. Remember what President Obama said, that he was going to lower the premiums, and the premiums went up? We want to let individuals have the choice and decision-making in their health care. That's what our bill did in the House, and I would think that that bill could pass in the Senate, especially with what we were able to achieve.
Let me ask you about this sanctions bill. I know everybody wants to talk about Russia sanctions and all that, but Iran's in there, obviously North Korea too. What's the sense there? There's a sense that this will tie the hands of the president a little bit on Russia. Do you think that the president's going to sign this ultimately?
I think he's going to sign it, and the bill is different from when it passed the Senate. Remember, in the Senate, they didn't have North Korea, even though the House acted early and passed a bill 419-1 against North Korea, putting in sanctions and the fear of what we have. Just look at what the report came out yesterday about the ICBM capability of North Korea within the next year to reach America, the fear of what's going on there. And when you think of North Korea, Russia, and Iran, those are really the bad players in the world. But one thing that the Senate did too, it was going to punish American energy companies and actually reward the Russian companies. So we were able to modify and change that. I think it gave greater flexibility to the administration to make decisions as well. So I don't view it as tying the hands of the president, enhancing what the president is trying to achieve. Because the president has done more, especially from this national security team, which I think is one of the best I've ever watched from a president, in getting China more engaged with North Korea, focusing really where the pressure needs to be. We cannot allow North Korea to continue to build the nuclear weapons of what they're going towards and be able to reach us in America. If you wait longer, we will have our hands tied of really how to deal with this situation.
You know, the House has gotten so much done in such a short amount of time, but with very little coverage because of other stories like Russia and different things. Talk to us about the Forever GI Bill. I know this is something that you've worked very hard on yourself.
You know, one of the main focuses I have is actually transforming the VA. How we treat our veterans really shows the moral of this country. First of all, I think the VA Secretary is doing a tremendous job. We worked with him to actually change the rules, because what was happening today, he had somebody show up drunk, actually perform part of the surgery, couldn't be fired. Somebody that went to jail and served the time, comes back, can't get rid of them. Or individuals that are doing things improperly on their own computer or the VA computers there that he needs to make change. So you can't let those bad apples spoil everybody else. But also about the wait time for individuals. So what we've done is we've had a GI reform bill, because it limited the amount of time someone can use their GI Bill to just 15 years, so you had to use it or lose it. We look at the new workforce that's going on. We're expanding the ability of where they can get their education from. There's so much more we can do, from the health care to the veterans to also the workforce for the veterans, making sure when they come back that they, not only that they're the greatest fighting force in the world, but they become the strongest workforce that America has ever had as well. We need to keep our promise to them.
Majority Leader, a couple last questions and we're done. Let me ask you a little bit about your relationship with the president. You know, he loves you. He thinks you're great. He thinks you're a huge fan, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what that relationship's like, and also how do you kind of, good luck with this, how do you rein him in a little bit? I mean, look, I mean, even on Jeff Sessions, he's getting a lot of flack on that. What's kind of a counsel to him on things like that? What do you do in situations like that? You're a confidant of his.
Well, the president and I talk often. He called me the other night coming back on Air Force One from the Boy Scout Jamboree. And we talk about the different pieces of legislation. I'm always looking forward-looking about different things that are coming up. Now, the president has never been in elected office before, but I like that idea because he pushes. He's a disruptor when it comes to government, and it's really what the American people are asking for. But sometimes when you disrupt, yeah, you ruffle some feathers and people get upset. So I've tried to talk to him about the full spectrum of everything that's out there. If you make this decision, these ideas are going to come forward. What I try to do is just give him all the information. When you give him all the information, he usually makes the right decision. But sometimes I find some people don't give him the opportunity to give him all the information and kind of steer him in one direction or another. Would you like him to rein in on the Jeff Sessions talk a little bit, or he's going to do what he's going to do? You know, you're not going to change President Trump. He is who he is. He's going to tell you exactly what he thinks. I think that's what the American public expects for. But the one thing I look at in all of this, some people are working so hard to be able to get that Trump agenda passed. I always think as a team you're stronger. I used to have these discussions on the campaign trail. Focus on just Hillary. You're not going to have everybody that's agreeing with you, but make sure you keep building that team together. We can have constant improvement, but there's nothing wrong with the president talking about ways that he wants people to work harder and stronger, and I think that's fine. But I think keeping a team strong and united will make him stronger in the long run as well.
Majority Leader, as you of course know, members getting ready to go on this recess. Of course, the congressional baseball shooting still fresh on many minds. My question, are there plans to help members feel more secure at their local town halls coming up here?
Well, you know, security is very important, and to all your viewers, keep Steve Scalise in your prayers. He is doing better. He soon will be going to rehabilitation. He's been a dear friend of mine long before he's ever was in Congress together. He and Jennifer and the kids, just keep him in your prayers as we continue to, he gets stronger. But in the time that we serve, it becomes a scary time. So we have taken some actions here. One, they've just now reported that members can use campaign money to security around their house for cameras. We have plussed up the giving more money to the Capitol Police to be able to patrol in areas where members are at. We have worked with local law enforcement to be able to be there back home of the locations that people need. But I can't say enough about these Capitol Police. David Bailey and Crystal, they risked their lives, and they were both wounded. And had they not engaged the way they did, there would probably be a number of members who did not live that day. But we just have to make sure we're keeping our eyes out everywhere, that we have the support and security going. But you want to be able to interact with your constituents. And we want to make sure that you don't rile individuals up for an idea that, yes, we can have disagreements, but let's not get into the physical parts of these disagreements. Let's just make the idea win at the end of the day.
Majority Leader, always a pleasure to see you. Give our best to Judy out there in hot Bakersfield, California.
Hey, it's a beautiful place.
I know. And by the way, you still doing those bike rides around D.C.?
You need to join me. It's a beautiful time of year to do it.
I may pass out.
All right. Well, come join me. God bless, and thanks for having me.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Great to see the Majority Leader.